Hey everyone, welcome to episode 16 of the Darksliders podcast with Doug and Brad.
Hi.
We missed our regularly scheduled episode this week. We just had some stuff come up, so we're recording much later this week, which I think worked out well because there's a ton of stuff that came out this week in kind of the pre-E3 craziness that was this week. Tons of trailers, tons of leaks, game announcements, just all kinds of crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, there was like one news item last week, like maybe two that we'll cover, but there really wasn't a lot of news last week anyway, so.
Fallout 4 happened, and that was about it.
Which is a huge deal, but I think, yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
We'll get to that, but we're going to kind of cut this segment a little bit shorter this week just because there is so much to talk about. That's some of the games that we played, and most of the reason I'm doing this is because I've been playing Saints Row 4 for the past week, and holy crap is this one of the most fun games I've ever played.
I have played 10 minutes, 20 minutes of this game, and it's okay.
So, gameplay-wise, it's okay, but just the experience of playing Saints Row 4 is amazing. There is so many just weird random pieces to this game that every single thing that happens is just awesome. So if you haven't played Saints Row before, really it's basically Grand Theft Auto if somebody's just like, that was cool, now let's go crazy.
I really liked that I think, like, okay, because I only didn't get so far in the opening, I like in the opening, like, they talk about the Saints Row franchise, and they're like, when the Saints came on the scene, they were seen as a pretender, because they were just a rip-off of Grand Theft Auto. And then, like, I don't remember how the rest of it goes, but it's like, obviously they talk about how the series got crazier and crazier and crazier, but they make it seem really, really epic, and it's like this huge, awesome story, when it's just kind of stupid and silly.
Oh yeah, that's the best part about this, is this game buys so hard into its own story, and its story is obscenely ridiculous. So the general premise of this is, at the end of Saints Row 3, the player character, known as just the boss, is elected President of the United States. So of course he hires all his gang members to be the cabinet, and Keith David is vice president, and all those things. But it's just general craziness. And as he's president, aliens come over, blow up the Earth, and put you into basically the Matrix version of the city from Saints Row 3.
Yeah, actually, what I'd heard was that this was actually like a DLC. This is actually like a DLC originally for Saints Row 3, but it just got so big, very similar to Saints Row 3 from what I've played at Saints Row 3. It's like just the biggest expansion pack anybody's ever made, which isn't bad. This is like one of the few 1.5 games I don't think is like terrible.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. This is definitely a 3.5, but just if you buy into what this game is doing, it's awesome. I mean, every single part of it. So you're on a ship, just like kind of in the Matrix, and you got to go plug into the simulation to actually go and do things. And as you're in there, you can manipulate things and get superpowers and just all kinds of crazy stuff. And of course, it's Saints Row, so you've got like your random guns, like the dubstep gun is like one of the super famous ones. You've got all that weird stuff. But as you play through this game, it basically plays like Mass Effect.
What? What do you mean? What does
so
that even mean?
The general premise of this game, so you start out, you're in there, you break out, you get on this ship, and it's you and Kinsey, who's like the person in your ear kind of navigating you through things.
Yeah.
So it's you two to start with, and then you have to go find all the other characters. And as you find all the other characters, they jump on your ship, and you can interact with them on your ship, and then do a loyalty mission for them. And you can, of course, have a romance option with every character.
I've heard with like every character.
Literally every single character, from Keith David to the little robot guy who's basically just like the monitor in Halo, just this floating eyeball. Every single one. And it's basically just like, instead of having to do this, like, oh, I gotta pick like dialogue options, it's literally, when you walk up to a character, it's press triangle to talk, press square to romance. And the romance things are just, like, literally the first one you can do is Kinsey, and slight language, but he literally just walks up and goes, hey Kinsey, wanna fuck? And then it plays like the like romantic music from Mass Effect, and the screen goes black.
That is
and every
cool.
single one is like that. There's another one where you can romance one of the the male crew members, and it's like, you know, this is gonna make things awkward, and I just don't know how I feel about this. Would you sign a copy of your book for me? And that's the entire romance option.
To me, it sounds like Matt Hazard if like Matt Hazard didn't suck.
Yeah, exactly. Like, everything about this game is just a play on something else. And it's done so well, and it's just so much fun to do. Like, that's the thing that I can't get over with this game, is, yeah, the story's stupid. Yeah, it's just a giant joke. But the game is just so much fun to sit down and play. It's crazy.
Yeah, crap. Yeah, I gotta play this later. Hopefully we'll have a longer talk about it. But like, because I only played a few minutes of it. The opening was like okay, but there's a part where you go to like 1950s land, and they have this really unique. This is so specific, but they have a unique animation for your character walking in 1950s land, and it was like the first game I've like literally laughed out loud in like a really long time. I can't describe his walking, his gait, but oh my god, it made me laugh. Like I just a
Oh, yeah.
single animation made me laugh. But there's so many. I thought it was kind of cool because there's so many like unique animations from when I played. His like takedown, like where he like if you run and take someone down, like he does like a suplex or something. He
Yep.
has like a ton of them. He has
Oh, yeah,
like
there's
way more than
several.
anybody should ever have.
Yeah, and it's little things like that. Like, you can pick, like, taunts and everything, and there's, like, dozens of them, and,
Yeah.
like, obscenely weird costumes. It's just a fun game. Like, that's all this
Yeah.
is it's just a fun game.
Yeah, there's actually co-op too. I want to give that a try, see what that's like.
Yeah, I haven't touched that at all.
All right.
But anyway, like I said, we'll come back to that later, after Doug's played a bit of it,
hmm
to kind of revisit it and kind of have more of a discussion between the two of us. But I just needed to talk about that game because that's one of the most fun games I've played in a really long time, just sitting down and enjoying it.
Yeah, actually, this week I didn't play any games. I had life, and life. Yeah. Turns out when you have life and more and like fun things to do, then you don't play video games for too long. So yeah, so I didn't play any. But Brad, you got a new game. You did what you said you would do. And I think you actually do this. You said that you would get Splatoon like almost like the day it came out. I don't think you actually got the day it came out, but you got it. You got it
Relatively
like
close.
yeah.
Like a week after it came out. I ended up being like busy last weekend, so I didn't get a chance to go out and get it. But I went to Best Buy earlier this week and bought it. Yeah,
So you spent $60 on a game.
I did.
Was this in gift cards again?
Almost all of it, like half of it.
Ooh.
Yeah. But no, so I haven't got a chance to play a ton of this. I just got it about 2 or 3 days ago. But all I can say is, again, it's so much fun. I haven't touched the single player at all, and I've heard that's where a lot of the negative criticism comes in for this game, is in
Yeah.
the single player, and just that it's kind of slapped together. But honestly, I put the game in and just started playing multiplayer just like I did with the beta, and it's just,
Mhm.
again, it's fun. It's addicting. I just keep wanting to play it. The only problem with this is the game doesn't have a lot of content. And the way Nintendo has
That's
this
what
set
I've
up
heard.
is basically at any point you can only play 2 maps. And
That
Nintendo picks
sounds like
those
a
maps
joke.
for you.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so like you turn on the game, and there's a news show with these 2 squid girls,
Yeah.
which sounds way creepier than it is. But these 2 squid girls are like, oh yeah, today's maps are the skate park and the mall. Enjoy playing. And then every match you go to is one of those 2 maps.
That is an asinine decision. Why would they do
And
that?
then, like 2 hours later, you get, and then another news thing will come up and it'll be like, hey, new maps are available. Now it's blank and blank.
But they're not new maps. They're the same map. They're like
Yeah, it's.
maps.
I think there's 6 total. There's not many total, and it just rotates through. It almost seems like, crap, we only have this many maps. People are going to get bored of these right away. What if we just kind of gate it off? We say these 2 for this time, these 2 for this time, these 2 for this time.
I heard that it had six maps for like an exclusively multiplayer game. Sounds insane.
Yeah. But even with that, just like the beta, I can sit here and play the same map over and over again
hmm
and still have a ton of fun with it. And honestly, like, I don't feel like the map even affects it too much. There's certain intricacies and certain things with different maps, but for the most part, I just want to play this game. I don't really care where I'm at.
Well, okay. I guess I can see that. I don't know. It's just this is like the Nintendo being weird about shooters again. I don't know. To me, like if any other company tried to do this, like they would get killed. Like
Oh, totally.
this game would not get a 9 out of 10. I mean, I'm sure it's a great game, but I just could not see this game getting like nines out of 10 if this wasn't Nintendo doing it. Like I don't know if Gears of War came out, they're like, okay, you're gonna only play 2 maps a game. Like how many maps did Judgment have?
I don't remember. Probably 10ish. I feel like 10 is pretty standard.
Yeah, but it got okay. All I remember is that like people gave it shit because they had a low number of maps, and I was like, I think it had way more than Splatoon.
Yeah, it definitely did, but I don't remember the specific number. But I don't know. I think you're right. I think this is Nintendo kind of hitting this understanding of like, okay, this is games are multiplayer now, and multiplayer games look like this, and you can do this, and this is how they work. But not quite going the full way to completely understand the entire concept. They're halfway there with this. They just got to figure out the rest of how these online multiplayer games work.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of. I think it's a. I don't know. Again, if the game wasn't so well made, then maybe this would be more of a sticking point. But I guess if the game was like so well made that this is sort of like a forgivable sin kind of thing.
I think that's totally what it is. This game, it's too much fun to hate. Like that's my feeling with this is, you can sit here and you can look at it and go, that looks dumb, but you sit down and you play it for 20 minutes, you're like, okay, this is way too much fun. There's no reason this should be this much fun.
Yeah. I think they're also gonna be like adding new maps that goes along too.
Yeah, and Nintendo's been really good with DLC when you look at Mario Kart and Smash Bros. And the other couple first party games they've had.
Yeah.
Since the Wii U kind of has really gotten to be more of an actual usable online console.
Yeah, that's true. I think the DLC I hope a lot of it's free DLC though. Like I assume it is.
I mean, even if it's not, the packs and the way they had Mario Kart set up, I feel like was, I don't want to say like nice enough, but nice enough and consumer friendly enough.
Yeah, but I mean Mario Kart, like you got like 16 maps. You got like like the DLC was 16 maps.
Yeah, but again, I think if you release 10 Splatoon maps and charge $10 for that, I don't think anybody's going to complain about that.
Yeah, but I'm saying like they're starting with 6. Like I can't imagine like that they're going to release 6 more or double the amount in a single DLC drop. Like I feel like I don't know if Mario Kart's anything to go by, it'd be 3 maps and then another 3 maps, and then you spend $30 for a total of 12 maps.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, game's great. It's fun.
Yeah.
You should totally at least give it a run, but I would play it for a while at least because it's addicting and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. God dang it. I guess I gotta go over to your house and play. Or maybe actually get a Wii U one day. Probably not though.
Eventually.
Maybe an NX.
Oh yeah. All right. So that was kind of quick to this week, but there's so much here to talk about with our news that we just kind of wanted to get that not necessarily out of the way, but kind of move past that so that we can get into some big things coming out. So this is a little bit dated now, but we skipped last week, but we still want to talk about it because it's huge. Fallout 4 is actually a thing. We all knew it was a thing, but now it's a thing and we've seen it. So watching the Fallout 4 trailer, I think we had very different impressions of this. So I'm curious what your initial thoughts were after watching the Fallout 4 trailer.
My initial thoughts of the Fallout 4 trailer was everything about that trailer that to me that was interesting was the things that looked the least amount like Fallout. So it's obviously like they're gonna have some sort of like flash. I think the game's probably gonna open with some sort of flashback scene where it's like before the war. But to me, like I feel like Fallout has been explored like through 3 games already, so I feel like I kind of understand that world. But like we don't really understand like the pre-Fallout world, like the 1950s, everything's super cheery, but it's this weird like nuclear age. Like to me right now is more interesting than the post-apocalyptic version of that universe.
But see, I think that's what's going to be different about this is before your character had no connection to that world. I mean, you were born, Fallout 3, I believe you were born in the vault, or if not, you were a baby in the vault. Whereas this, if they somewhere or another managed to carry your character over from that pre-war time period, which I gotta think if they're focusing on it, your character's going to have some kind of connection to it. So otherwise it wouldn't necessarily fit into that. So I'm more interested to see that, okay, number one, now my character has that prior knowledge of what the world looked like before it got to this point.
Yeah.
So you can do some interesting things with that. And if that's the case, if you're going like not some weird scientific thing where he got stuck in time or got mutated so he lived for 100 years, it's going to be a very fresh post-apocalyptic world.
I mean, I guess, but to me, like, all of what you just said could have been fixed by, like, a Fallout 3 mod that had, like, a 10-minute intro. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I feel like that world that we're going to see in the opening we're not going to see for very long. Like that's going to be these games are like 80 hours. That opening is going to be like a half hour long. Like it's going to be a really really cool opening. Um, but like if the whole game was sort of set like I think it'd be kind of cool if the whole game was a setup to the nuclear blast instead of it just being the opening.
See, I think if you're putting that much emphasis on it in the initial trailer, because I would say probably a quarter to a third of that trailer had stuff from pre-war time.
That's true.
So if you're focusing that much on it, I can't imagine that they're going to put that much emphasis on it, and then when the game comes out, go, oh yeah, here's a 20-minute throwaway scene. So I could see them doing like some like 2 or 3 hour prologue thing, and maybe have all the tutorial because the game's going to have a big tutorial to it anyway. So as opposed to in Fallout 3, where your tutorial was you growing up, your tutorial for this game is wandering around the old world, wandering through and figuring out what the old world looks like, how those things happened, where this blast came from, understanding the world, and then I think just having that reference point is enough to make different things happen, because you can go through and you can see these same spots that you saw pre-nuclear blast. You can see all these things and have this connection to, okay, I now realize that, for lack of a better example, Nuka-Cola, here's what it meant pre-war, here's what it means post-war.
Like, I think it'd be super ballsy of them if they spent like a really large portion of the game in that pre-war stuff. Like I don't know, maybe I guess we'll have to see when like gameplay comes out. Like if that is a large portion of the game, then I will be like instantly far more interested. But even that, I did like that they showed like some new environments in the post-apocalyptic era, and they actually looked pretty cool. Like they definitely look far more unique than like most of Fallout 3, which was pretty. You could take a screenshot in most as like Fallout 3 and it looked pretty much the same as the rest of Fallout 3. But this one it looked like there's like color for one, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, the towns look just like far more. It just actually looks like a more interesting place to explore. It kind of actually reminded me of Grand Theft Auto 5 in a weird way, because Grand Theft Auto 5, I feel like if you traveled for more than like 5-10 minutes, like you'd be in a totally different looking area. And that's kind of what they showed with this trailer when they're showing they're showing you different scenes at the end. They're going doom 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 doom, and those different scenes look like far different than anything we've seen in Fallout. So like that was interesting to me. But every time they kept switching back to the dog, I was like, oh, yep, it's Fallout. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that goes with what they've kind of said already, is that this is going to be huge. And I mean, that's going to be the big thing coming out, is how big is this game? Because not only does everything look different, but I mean, you've got to imagine there's going to be those small towns that do look the same, because Fallout 3 had that where, this small town is this small town are pretty similar, and I'm assuming that's still going to happen. There's still going to be, towns for you to go to. But there's going to be enough of that world to explore where there's different things other than just those towns.
Yeah. To me, it made it look like like Fallout's going to look a lot different depending on where you're going. I don't know. It looks interesting to me, but this is like one of those ones like I would love to see a long play gameplay trailer of it, like a just half hour of this game to see like what happens as you travel through this world. Because like right now, like I think that like the cool thing about Fallout is like just walking. Like the fast travel's okay, but the most fun part of the game is just walking through it. So I'd like to see how like the game changes as you're walking through these places, not seeing like quick cut fast travels through these places. You know what I mean?
And I think that's the same with most of these Bethesda games, whether it's Elder Scrolls or Fallout.
Yeah.
You lose a good chunk of what this game is about by using fast travel. Now, granted, it's a huge thing, and I can't imagine a game without it, just because that would be the most obnoxious thing in the world. But I think that just initial feeling of just wandering, and I know when I started Skyrim, that was the first thing I did before I really even did any quests, was I just went and wandered around for like an hour just to see what it looked like.
Yeah, so that's what I want to see. Like whatever gameplay they do, like I want to see that like wandering part of the game. Like that will either like make or break this game for me.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what they show off. I believe it's either Sunday or Monday when they have their conference, because it's going to be gameplay. If they put this trailer out, what they're going to show has to be gameplay, because I can't imagine they're just going to release another trailer like this at their press event. So I'm curious to see what they go with for gameplay. Do they go with maybe that pre-war thing to show how this is different? Do they go with snapshots of a lot of different environments? Or do they just show, hey, you can travel around this giant thing and figure out what it looks like?
That I don't know. Yeah, I think that's what is. I'm hoping they are. I think they're just gonna. I think it's gonna be like one of those. I think we talked about this last podcast where it's just gonna be like dark reveal. And it's like here's Fallout 4, and then they just start playing Fallout 4.
Yeah.
One thing I actually am curious. I really hope they fix the VAT system by getting rid of it.
Yeah, that's one of those things I think is way better in theory than it ever was in practice.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea to kind of break something down just because I don't really want Fallout to be a hardcore shooter.
See,
and I think that
do. I'd rather have it be
eliminated
that.
part of really.
Yeah, well, I
Really?
just thought. Yeah, well, I mean, like the reason you use the VAT system in Fallout 3 is because the shooting is so bad.
Fair point.
Like, I don't want it to be like a hardcore, like shooting game, but like it's kind of like going from BioShock to BioShock Infinite. Like whether or not you like those games, the gunplay like tightened up considerably in BioShock Infinite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of hoping something like that from Fallout 3 to Fallout 4. I think it's gonna be like when I get in my hands sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I don't know. I'm curious to see what they do with it because that was kind of a big marketing point for Fallout 3 was this VAT system and this unique way to do combat.
Mhm.
And I don't know how well it was really received overall. I mean, I didn't have a major issue with it. I don't feel like I ever really bought into the idea that I need to use that all the time, but
Mhm.
it was one of those things where this is kind of their push with this. This is what makes this game unique.
Yeah.
And I think that was maybe just their attempt to get this into more of a spotlight, because before Fallout 3, Fallout 1 and 2 were not huge releases.
No.
I mean,
No.
the way that people are looking at Fallout 4, Fallout 3 is kind of like, oh cool, Fallout 3.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
I think they're coming from a very different standpoint with this game.
Yeah, I think like the expectations are like definitely different because people have a general idea of what to expect from Fallout 4. Well, like nobody had any idea what the hell Fallout 3 was. Like
Yeah.
people didn't even know what Fallout. I mean, people did know what Fallout was, but a large portion of the population, just like younger people, didn't know what Fallout was. Much less this is Fallout 3. What? Okay. Here's like
Yeah.
this huge open world. Oh, okay, this is kind of cool.
It was kind of like that transition from Grand Theft Auto 2 to Grand Theft Auto 3.
Mm-hmm.
Just that huge shift in, okay, at this point, this is what this series is, and holy crap, are people now aware of this?
Yeah, yeah. There's some huge expectations behind this, but honestly, like when I was playing, I think there's a lot of places they can improve. So as long as they improve on those areas, yeah, they're gonna have one hell of a monster game on their hand.
Yeah. So the last thing with this is it also kind of came out a couple days later. This will not be on PS3 or 360. This is a Xbox One, PS4, PC game.
Next gen only, woohoo!
Next gen only, which I think is awesome news. And what was curious to me is, I don't have the direct quote, but basically they came out and said, the game we want to make is just not possible on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3.
Yeah, which makes me think. I think the game now is a game that couldn't be on PS3 and Xbox 360. But like looking at it, it kind of looks a little bit like a cross-gen game, and I hate saying that.
Yeah, I kind of have the same feeling graphically, but seeing the graphics and hearing them say that make me think, okay, like map size? This is kind of our
true.
first next-gen only open-world game. You know what I mean, if you think about it?
Witcher 3 was. But
Okay, Witcher 3.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, but I mean, how big is this map going to be?
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I guess that's true. Like, I'll take a hit in graphics. It means they just like went bananas with the size of the map and like maybe no loading and things like that.
Yeah, and again, I think it's a Bethesda game, and let's be real, those are not graphically and technically going to be the best games.
Mm-hmm.
If you really look back on them,
yeah,
so
of course.
that's what I'm coming at with this map thing. I think that's really going to be where this next gen idea comes into. I don't think it's necessarily going to be the prettiest game like Ratchet and Clank, which we'll get to later, or necessarily the most technically sound game, but it's just going to be this monster of a game.
Yeah. So I'm a little excited for that.
Yeah. Alright, so moving on from that, another thing that I think this might have even been last week. This is another little bit of an older one. Nathan Drake Collection was officially announced. It comes out October 9th. It includes an Uncharted 4 beta. It runs in 1080p, 60 frames per second. And we saw none of that other than just a CG trailer with a voiceover. So, yeah, it's coming. And I think this really almost shows, to me, Sony might not have a whole lot this holiday season if this is something that comes out. I don't really know, but
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously just like to put in. I think this was probably planned to come out earlier, and because Uncharted 4 got delayed, they're pushing it to like where Uncharted 4 would have been.
It's another HD remake. It's another huge series, and my favorite part about this is they gotta be about done with these. Like, after Uncharted, I feel like there's just not a whole lot left to go back to.
That's funny because like as I'm looking down on our list of games to talk about, we actually have Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition as well.
Well, damn. Okay, that one too. But I feel like I love Darksiders 2, and we'll get to this later, but I feel like you're slowly getting to the point where you're scraping the bottom of the barrel of games that really need an HD remake when you get to that one. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think what you said makes a lot of sense that okay, Uncharted 4 moved out of here. We need to keep Uncharted in people's minds. This is going to sell like crazy. There's an audience that wants it. Let's throw it here, and then Uncharted 4 comes out next year, and it's fresh in people's mind. We got the beta. We've got all those things.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is also like The Last of Us remastered was a really, really, really well done remaster. And it got a lot of people like because I mean we got to think too like well we don't like these remasters personally like a lot of people changed from Xbox to PlayStation so they actually didn't get a chance to ever play an Uncharted game. Um, Same thing with like I don't know there's probably gonna be a Gears HD remake or something like that.
Yep.
So like people who switch from PlayStation to I mean these HD remasters like oh why are they doing this like they aren't for us like they're for people who like you switched to you got I mean you didn't switch I mean you got a PS3 like pretty late.
Yeah.
But you were still able to play the Uncharted like most of the Uncharted series I think. Um, but like a lot of people just never got ahead of PS3. So this is for them. And the fact that they get to play like Uncharted like the best looking possible way, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I guess sometimes I forget about that because I did get a PS3. I mean, I've only had my PS3 maybe for 2.5 years now, not very long. And of course, the first thing I did is I went back through and just was like, okay, what are the big name games that I've never got a chance to play? I'm going to buy those. I'm going to hit those. Those are what I need. That's why I bought a PS3. And I guess there's people who didn't do that, but
I'm saying that's what people are doing now with PS4. You know?
yeah.
So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I want new games. And I want to be able to sit here and I want to be able to talk on my podcast about new games.
That's true. Yeah, I mean it's funny. Like if we're talking about Fallout 4, Black Ops 3, Nathan Drake Collection, which is a remaster, other threes. I'm seeing a lot of numbers here.
Yeah, and you know I'm hoping that because all the numbers are coming out before E3, that means E3 is going to have a fair share of new IPs.
Oh, that's true.
You know, I don't know, and that's kind of been my thought all week is just with all this stuff that's coming out because there's been a lot of big games that have been mentioned in passing or announced before E3.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saving something because you can't go all out like they did for Halo 5 and then just be like, oh yeah, more Halo 5. Or all out like they or show a trailer for Fallout 4 and then have that be your big thing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think a lot of these they're doing. We should probably talk about this for a little bit. They're doing E3 very weird this year compared to like just about any other E3 before this. Like E3 is kind of like happening now.
Yeah, that's almost what I felt like. Is I'd come home from work and the first thing I need to do is I need to pull up a news site and I need to see okay what games were announced today. And normally I don't have that feeling except for those first 3 or so days of E3.
Yeah. I mean, I think our theory was sound when you're talking about like Need for Speed. Like, oh, they're releasing this because there's gonna be a lot of news at E3. But like, I think everybody's doing this. The fact that they're sort of changing like they're changing how they think about E3. Like, I think publishers are realizing it's not enough to just have too many surprises all at once. If you notice for like a lot of these things like we're talking about, they don't show you a lot of the game except for the last game we'll talk about. They're like teaser trailers. They're like, okay, we know people know we have this, or we should at least let people know we have this, and then be appropriately hyped that we're going to show more of it.
See, and I think that's a good point too. Is none of these games are like, oh my god, I can't believe it. I mean, if you look at the games we've talked about, everybody knew an Uncharted collection was coming. Everybody knew Fallout 4 was coming. Everybody knew Black Ops 3 was coming. We're going to talk about Halo. Everybody knew that was coming.
Yeah.
You know, everybody knows these games are coming. So you know what? Why not just blow out the week before, get all this stuff out there, and then, focus on gameplay or focus on something that we don't know about. I mean, I know we both know that there's got to be something coming from Sony that they don't want to spend 10 minutes on the Uncharted collection.
I mean, we just saw a trailer. I think was it today that like the Shadow Warrior 2 trailer came out?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I think that, well, I mean, Digital Revolver is kind of like they're kind of a weird one because they're just a small dev in general, so they can do whatever they want whenever they want.
Yeah.
But I think you're right with like these sort of sequel games where they're teasing them and then like gameplay to come, and I think that's kind of cool because I think people are like finally catching on that people aren't really interested in the nothing trailer with just a title. They want to see gameplay. So we'll give them the nothing trailer with just a title. Like Shadow Warrior 2 doesn't really show you anything. It's kind of a neat like story trailer, but that's not what I'm excited for. I'm excited to see the gameplay of Shadow Warrior 2, and that's coming at E3. But now I know to be excited about it instead of it like just getting, buried under like I'm going to be way more excited about like Last Guardian trailer and announcement than Shadow Warrior 2. But now I'm aware of the Shadow Warrior 2 one, so I'm going to be looking for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think another big piece is if you look at kind of the coming out of E3 last year, one of the biggest things that got harped on is, oh my gosh, it was CG trailer after CG trailer after CG trailer. I think it was Microsoft got hit really hard with that last year of, you didn't show like a game, you showed just concepts and ideas, and we talked about EA with that last week. And I think coming out of last year, I almost feel like these guys are thinking, okay, let's get the CG trailer out there, because yes, that still has a purpose, and yes, that still has a place. You talked about Shadow Warrior 2, introducing the story, announcing that this is a thing.
Yeah.
We still need that, but let's have E3, our big thing, be gameplay, and be about the games, not about this CG thing that we're never really ever going to see.
Yeah, I mean, shit, what was that game that got canceled by Microsoft?
Oh, Phantom? No.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like
Phantom Dust.
Phantom Dust. Yeah, like they did an interview with those devs later, and like most of the devs didn't even know there's a CG trailer like going to be shown.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is kind of cool. I feel like this is kind of people like showing their hand, like kind of peeking at what the cards they're holding, but we don't know what the full suit looks like, and we don't know what these games look like. But I'm more excited for them now instead of like like getting buried under whatever. I mean, some of these devs, I gotta imagine, have something super crazy. Especially, I keep on to talk about it. I guess we're gonna talk about the end, especially after it was shown like yesterday. Anyway,
every time Doug references something later, he means Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah,
just to throw that out there. But yeah, and Shadow Warrior 2 is a game that I'm curious about. I played Shadow Warrior. We never talked about it on the podcast, but after Doug's glowing recommendation of it, and it was a game that I had some fun with, but I'd be curious to see what they do with the sequel, because it's one of those games that I think had the good basis of a good idea and just didn't have, enough time put into it to really fully have that really great thing. And I'd be curious to see what a sequel looks like, and it's something that I never would have wanted to talk about next week.
Yeah, the level design sucks.
Oh god, it's so bad. I have stopped playing that game. I got about halfway through it, and I stopped playing because the level design just irritated me.
It's really bad. It's really bad. I don't even know. I couldn't even point to you what's bad about it, but it's just bad. We're not going to talk about too much about that. Oh, one thing about Shadow Warrior 2, it's like a 4-player co-op game, which has me like, oh, okay, well, we'll see how this goes.
That's not exactly why I liked the first one, but,
Yeah, that's one thing I don't like about 4-player games in general recently, is like it turns every enemy into a bullet sponge.
Yep.
But like Shadow Warrior was like you killed enemies super quick in that game. So I think I don't know how they're going to balance that, because I can't imagine they're going to throw like 4 times as many enemies at you. It'd be cool if they did. I just don't think they're going to. I mean, hopefully Shadow Warrior 2 is more optimized for PS4, because like it was like you could tell the PS4 is just about to die because it was so poorly optimized. But so I can't imagine like them showing with the same graphic fidelity 4 times as many enemies for 4 players.
Yeah. They definitely need to do some work to get it to be a game that's going to really be able to, I think, fully come to grips with the concept and the idea that they wanted to have in the first one.
Yeah, basically have not shitty level design.
That's a big thing. Alright, moving on here. So, again, another game that, this one I think a lot of people had a feeling it was coming, but it wasn't definitely like a Black Ops 3 Fallout 4, is Dark Souls 3 was leaked and then confirmed.
Yeah.
All in the past few days here. As someone who hated Bloodborne, hated Dark Souls, I really could care less, but here's your time to tell me why I should care.
No, you shouldn't care. You shouldn't
Excellent.
care.
Good. Good. Because I'm sick of hearing you talk about Bloodborne and telling me I need to care about that.
Well, you do need to care about Bloodborne. Bloodborne's good. Yeah, you need to play. I'm not even talking about that. I can help you get unstuck. You just have to do it. You just have to help me help you get unstuck. Anyway, my first reaction is like, oh, I'm totally gonna get this day one, pre-order it. But then I realized, like, the reason I like Bloodborne is because it fixed a lot of the annoying shit I found in Dark Souls. And I feel like a lot of the annoying shit in Dark Souls is part of the Dark Souls legacy. And Dark Souls 3 is just going to have that shit. Because Bloodborne because it was like a new IP, was kind of free to mess with the formula as much as they wanted. And they did actually streamline a ton of stuff from Dark Souls. That I think for the much, much better and made it a far more enjoyable experience for me. And I'm afraid that Dark Souls is not going to learn from that. Well, not going to learn, but they're going to be felt too held back by tradition to do anything too big with it. So I'm excited for it because I really, really like Bloodborne. But then in the back of my head, I realized, like, I liked Dark Souls, but I didn't like it nearly as much as Bloodborne. And I don't know, the pictures from it look really cool. It looks like they're stepping farther and farther away from the dark fantasy stuff. Which made Bloodborne exciting to me. So it looks like they're kind of making it more that weirdness of Dark Souls is like permeating just more and more and more into it. So it's like it's stepping as far away as possible from its like dark fantasy roots and becoming it like just much more its own world, which I think is pretty exciting.
So you're kind of almost hoping for maybe like a Dark Souls Bloodborne hybrid.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping for Dark Souls with Bloodborne's less annoying parts. No, the things they improved from Dark Souls. Honestly, I just hope the shops are in one place. Like, that's it. Like, as I'm thinking, like, I just hope the shops are in one place because that was super annoying.
See, and here's what I want, and this will never happen just because of the type of game it is. I want when I turn that game on, and I would buy it if it had this. So if anybody from Software is listening, which you're not, but if you were, this is what I want, and I would buy this game if they told me I had this.
Don't say easier. To be able to... If I hear easier come out of your mouth, I'm going to just continue.
All right, so the next topic on our list. No, what I want is I want there to hit press start, and I want there to be like Dark Souls Classic and Dark Souls Interesting, which is just the interesting bits that I want to see in play. That's my issue with Bloodborne. I love it. If it wasn't for the fact that I got so pissed off at it, I just have no patience for that nonsense. And if they said we're going to have like hardcore mode and like stroll through the park mode, and you can call it something like borderline insulting like Doom and Duke Nukem does, like pansy walk through the park or whatever the easy one on Duke Nukem is. I want that, and I'd buy it if I had that.
No, I think honestly, in the back of my head, if I just help you through this one weekend, like next month, I'm going to help you just get through that boss you're stuck on, and then you can keep playing. If you get after that boss you're stuck on and still hate it, then yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'll let you hate it and say it sucks forever. That's fine. But I think if you got past the part where you're stuck, because literally the first 2 or 3 bosses in that game are the hardest in the whole game. So anyway.
Or I could play more Saints Row.
Oh, that's...
Anyway.
That's kind of like the antithesis to Bloodborne.
Exactly, and that's why I love it. This game is just fun and stupid, not ungodly difficult and angry and irritating.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, but anyway, just to kind of take a break from some of these games to some actual more big picture news almost, Ready at Dawn announced that they are now self-publishing. So they've broken away from Sony. They're no longer a Sony-exclusive developer.
Yeah.
They basically came out and said, our next project is going to be PS4, Xbox One, PC. We're going all out on everything. We're not this developer anymore. Which is kind of crazy, because that doesn't happen too often.
Yeah. That kind of makes me sad a little bit.
Why?
Because I think, well, first of all, we're never going to see the Order 1887. That's just not happening. And I feel like if they had taken... Well, I mean, okay, I guess they are taking lessons they learned from Order. I just don't think they're ever going to make a game as gorgeous as Order 1886 again. Like,
just
whatever...
because they don't have that big budget behind them.
Well, that big budget, I don't even know if they have their engine. I assume they do.
I believe they said that they were working on a new engine.
See, that is a bummer. Like, I don't know if they just lost like years and years of work making that amazing engine, and now that and nobody's ever gonna use that. It's not like Sony needs that engine; they're not gonna use it for anything. But I mean that could all be hearsay. I'm sure they might actually own their own engine because I know they're more like published by Sony, and they wanted to. They were always talking about staying independent. Yeah, no, I think this is huge news. I think it shows. Yeah, we're not getting a new order. I think. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Ready at Dawn, like moving away from Sony, because I don't know if that's going to make them more creative or less creative. If that's going to make them feel like, okay, we don't have to, you know, feel tied down to a publisher, so we can be creative with whatever we want. Or now because they're releasing on so many systems, like we need to be safer with our games.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird balance, I feel like, because you could very easily go either way.
Yeah. And that's why I think this is gonna be and like their next game. This like just came out, like honestly, like probably an hour ago. Their next game is an Oculus Rift game, which is cool. Well, actually, I just realized that makes a lot more sense for them.
Why?
Like if they're making a movie game, an Oculus Rift would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But my issue with this, and Insomniac also just put out a trailer for their Oculus game. My issue with this is I don't want to see good studios go Oculus exclusive and things like that, just because it's something that I don't have an interest in. And I liked The Order enough that I wanted to see what Ready at Dawn would do next. And if it's an Oculus title, or even if it's a Morpheus title, or whatever the name of Microsoft's thing is that I can't think of.
Yeah.
HoloLens?
Yeah, that's something that one's a little different from all the other ones, but yeah.
But either way, like, I don't want to see these publishers that I really like make games for this, because to me this is a thing like the Kinect, where initially Kinect had some good studios behind it, and nobody cared. And I really wish, and I understand from a publisher and a developer standpoint that you need to have the good games to get the tech into people's hands, but as a consumer I'm kind of sad to see, okay, you know what, Insomniac is doing the new Ratchet & Clank and this Oculus game. They could be doing the new Ratchet & Clank and whatever other cool new IP they want to do on that beautiful engine. You know what I mean? Or Ready at Dawn could do Order 1887 or even a new IP, but instead they're stuck now in Oculus.
Well, I don't think they're stuck. I think these games, like when you look at like some of the Oculus games that have been released, they're either big budget games that are not Oculus exclusive, or they're smaller looking games that like the Oculus exclusive games, like none of them look like something like none of them are nearly as big from what I've seen so far. Like there is no huge AAA Oculus Rift game that isn't coming out for other systems.
But still, like a small indie game by Insomniac Studios, could be awesome.
Yeah,
like I'm thinking like Ubisoft games, like Child of Light, Grow Home, things like that.
Yeah.
If more studios did that, but instead of now making that small indie game, they're making this Oculus exclusive small indie game.
Yeah, but
you get what I'm saying? But I'm still removing a game that I want to play.
Yeah, well, no, I get that. Then you can get an Oculus, but
I don't want an Oculus.
Well, then that's your fault. But like, but I think this is actually giving them like more creative freedom, because now like they're thinking in a whole new space. Like that weird game is not going to be much weirder because they're using Oculus and they're thinking of game design in a new and different way instead of just sticking with Ratchet or, well, I mean, Sunset Overdrive was pretty different, but like they're really good at third person shooters, and now they're doing a third person shooter with like a whole new way of thinking about third person shooters and cameras and things like that. So that's exciting, because like I feel like whatever game is released on Oculus would not be nearly as interesting if it wasn't on Oculus. And I don't mean that in the Oculus games are bad and they're just lower than average. I'm just saying like being like enveloped in that environment is like a whole different experience, and it's hard to, like we can't talk about because we haven't seen that stuff. So
I agree.
So I think this is like, as much as we personally aren't interested in VR, like I think if we had VR in our hands, we'd be like, oh, you know what, this actually is pretty cool. I can see why they did this.
But see, I feel like the same argument was made a year before Kinect came out. Yeah, and was made a year before the Wii came out. And what amazing game is there on the Wii or on Kinect that you couldn't have without it?
Yeah, but I mean, they've pretty much proven that VR works as advertised.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know.
Wii never really worked as advertised, and Kinect never really worked as advertised. And for like the first time, I mean, people have had Oculus Rift in their hands forever. Like these things do work as advertised.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on here, and again, there's so much to go through here, so this might end up being slightly longer than normal, but Microsoft had some kind of information come out this week that was some fairly big news. I guess to start with, they're skipping E3 with a lot of their big-name games, and a couple of these were games that we mentioned as games that we were really excited to see at Microsoft's conference next week.
Yeah.
Specifically Scalebound, which I believe you had as one of your 3 games that you were most excited about.
Yep.
And we spent a lot of time talking about Crackdown and the kind of the power behind the cloud with that game. Neither of those are going to be there at all.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like so
we're going to get a Forza and Halo heavy E3 and Gears probably.
Shit. That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, I think Gamescom. This is actually kind of showing me that Gamescom is sort of becoming the more interesting version of like E3, because
I think it's kind of like E3 is your big, almost stockholder event. Like these are the games we're making the money off of.
Yeah.
And Gamescom has become more of the here's something new.
Yeah. So like this kind of shows me like there's two ways to look at this. A, Microsoft is super confident in their show that they don't need to show these games and that they have some like really, really big stuff that we haven't seen. Or B, they realize that the E3 audience isn't really interested in something new and different, so we're going to show them something old and shiny, and save the new and interesting part for the European audiences. Because think about like this is like the best example probably be like Sony. Like Sony's E3 last year was okay. It wasn't great.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of boring, but their Gamescom was really cool because that's what they showed: Tomorrow Children, Rhyme, and then a bunch of other stuff that I'm forgetting. But that was their cool new stuff, and E3 was their kind of like here's the expected stuff. So I think you're right with that. It's going to be the Forza, Halo, Gears show, and then Battletoads.
Because everybody wants that for some reason.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, we all got those stupid S Super Nintendo games we would love to see sequels to. It's just there's a lot of people who like this one.
But what we do know is probably going to be there, we mentioned a couple times, is Halo 5. And they did like a giant dump of information earlier this week.
Yeah.
About stuff. So just kind of a couple highlights really quick here.
Yeah, this is all you. I've like never played Halo, so go for it.
I love Halo, and conveniently enough, this makes me not want to buy Halo 5. So.
Oh, seriously?
Well, first of all, it's squad-based.
What does that mean?
So instead, it's 4-player co-op.
The main storyline?
Yep. So the Master Chief now leads, I believe it's Blue Team, which is, I can't remember the names. I know it's Kelly and a couple of the other like main Spartans from the books into like some new thing. So it's 4-player co-op squad based, where if you're single player, then you're commanding the other guys around and everything, playing as Master Chief. So that right there throws me off. I don't want that.
So are these guys from like Halo Reach? Because like Nathan Fillion is in this. Is he playing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So it's squad based, which I mean I understand it worked for Reach, but like. I just want Master Chief. I don't want 4-player co-op. I just want Master Chief.
Yeah.
Now, to kind of go the other route with that, they also announced no split-screen co-op. Which I'm really pissed about.
Okay, it's actually... because people were kind of mad about the no split-screen co-op, and I can kind of understand that, but that makes it even seem weirder.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And see, to me, as soon as they said that, like, I'm done. Like, that was Halo to me growing up, is... I literally played through Halo 1 with probably 5 different people. And I played through Halo 2 with like 5 different people. And it was always local. And it was... Mm-hmm. To me, it's like... And this is going to be a weird analogy for a lot of you, but to me, it's like Smash Bros. Going, oh, there's no local multiplayer. Because Halo, to me, is a game that I played split screen.
Yeah.
I would say 80% of my time in Halo was split screen.
And honestly, it seems like they created the perfect Halo split screen game.
Yeah, it's squad based and no. So I don't know. Just that's weird because I don't want 4-player co-op, but I want my split screen co-op where we both play as the Master Chief in some weird like augmented reality type of way or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So
they didn't make that. Okay, just to be clear, they didn't make that apparent at all in like any of the advertising.
The split screen co-op or the squad based
the 4-player thing.
Yeah, that was like in a because Game Informer had all this news, and it was just if you actually read the article on Game Informer, it was in there that Master Chief is now leading the squad, and the squad's gone AWOL somehow, and something like that. Mm-hmm. So they kind of had a little bit of a story reveal with it too, but I don't know. I'm just not feeling it.
Would you have been more feeling it if they're like we based our entire campaign around split screen co-op? Because it looks, I don't know, to me this sounds like I said, like this sounds like a split screen co-op game that they just made not split screen co-op. Like, would you have been more okay if they're like, this is a game where you're Master Chief and you have 3 other squad members and now you can play local 4-player? Would you be more excited?
No, I just want it to be a game about Master Chief. I don't care about. I just want a good story starring the character that I like. And
didn't you like Reach?
I did like Reach a lot, but I liked it because it was a side story. You know what I mean? Halo Reach, they were up front right away going, Master Chief is not in this. Just so you know, this is a story about what's going on while he's doing his thing. And they were very, very, very upfront about that. Whereas this, it's like, it's Master Chief, and now it's like, okay, yeah, it's Master Chief and friends.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just really picky because this is like a series that is like that, that series in my mind that like as a kid, this is what it was and this is what I want it to still be.
Are you sure you're not just a little mad you don't have an Xbox One?
A little bit, yeah. But the last piece of information that came out with this is maps, and kind of the opposite of Splatoon here. Holy crap. So 343 announced that there are going to be 20 maps on disc when you buy it.
No.
And then, within the first, I think it was like 6 months of the game being released, they were going to release another 15 maps for free.
That's too many maps.
That was almost my thought, is like, part of like a multiplayer game is understanding the map. Because every map plays a little bit differently. Do you know
what's happening? Like, this happened with Unreal Tournament, and it happens with a lot of games with a lot of maps. It's like people like to play 2 or 3 maps, or like 4 or 5, and then nobody ever wants to play the other maps.
I mean, and that's even true with games with 10 maps.
Yeah, so that's going to be like exacerbated, like real bad. Unless they decide to do this Splatoon way, where you can only play 6 maps a week, or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. It's cool just because, I mean, that is a ton of content. But at the same time, it's like, is that to the point where, okay, some of these are just going to suck?
Yeah. I mean, well, I mean, this company like started making Halo maps, right?
They started with ODST, I believe. They did the multiplayer for that.
Yeah, but I'm saying these guys have been making Halo maps forever, so I got to imagine.
Oh yeah, it's not their first time through this.
Yeah, so I don't think there's any real like. I mean, I think it's kind of hard to make. I think multiplayer maps are so well known now that's kind of hard to make like a real shit one without like somebody on the dev team noticing that it's super shit. Yeah. So, but I think it's going to be a lot of pretty good maps and like a few really good ones. And then why play something pretty good when you can just play the really good ones?
Yeah, and I think that's true of most multiplayer shooters.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on here. This is a game we both obviously like, and you can probably guess why. Darksiders 2, Woo! Deathinitive Edition. So, yeah, Darksiders. See, I already did it.
Yeah.
Darksiders 2 is a fantastic game.
It is. Yeah. This is like when we were coming up with names for our podcast. Well, no, we can't actually say that. I don't know. Can we? Maybe we're in parody law. I don't know. We like Darksiders.
Not enough people listen to this for us to get in trouble.
That's true.
I think there's some, like, nobody gives a shit clause in that law.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that's true.
But anyway,
yeah.
They announced the remaster, which again, like I said before, I feel like you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here. As much as I love this game,
it doesn't
warrant it.
Actually, you know what it is? I think this game is almost exclusive. This is one of the things I kind of thought was a good idea with remasters to begin with, was to use these remasters as a way to fund your next game.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of goes with the other news. Like they did sort of announce, in quotes, a large scale Darksiders game is being currently like in development. And they said, but we first need to get Darksiders to a wider audience. So what I think the Darksiders 2 HD collection is a way to get funding for Darksiders 3, and then basically I think the sales of Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition is like that's how they're gonna figure out their budget for Darksiders 3.
Yeah, I definitely have that feeling with just because with the announcement of the remaster came that and maybe something else.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like this is the one where you can almost directly see that that's where some companies are coming from with this, just because it was. I mean, it was the same press release. It wasn't even like Darksiders 2 Definitive, and then another one for Darksiders 3 or whatever the new project is, separate. It was one big thing.
Yeah. 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 Oh, the thing that is really cool with this Definitive Edition. Sorry, this is dumb. It has all the DLC, but like Darksiders 2 had a shit ton of DLC that I never bought.
Yeah, I never touched any of it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually really like Darksiders 2 is probably like honestly like top two favorite games of all time. Just because I think it was a game I kind of always wanted in that it was like a stylish action game in an open world, which surprisingly like nobody's ever done, and
Yeah,
still nobody's done. A Bayonetta still, I mean, even Bayonetta 2, like, oh, the awesome, stylish action game ever, depending on who you're asking, is like still takes place in like corridors and arenas.
Yeah.
But this was like, it's an open world fantasy action RPG with stylish action, and then you have all the DLC added, and then they're also tweaking some stuff. It sounds like they're kind of doing like the DMC special edition, where they did a lot of like behind the number crunching fixes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm pretty excited about that. I think I will probably pick this up. Did they announce what price this was?
No, but I gotta assume it's 40. I feel like that's kind of the standard going rate at this point.
Yeah, actually, that's actually kind of cool. I think we'll talk about this a little bit with the next game, but I think we're actually starting to see like the first generation of like what everybody's been talking about forever, the $40 price point games.
And kind of pricing with what your game is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I really like Darksiders 2. It's one of my favorite games ever, but there's no way in hell I'm ever going to pay $60 for it now. But, $40 for a game with, I don't know, whatever ungodly amounts of DLC added plus some tweaks. Yeah, sure, why not? That sounds like a decent price. But yeah, can we talk about the last game?
Yeah, go ahead.
So
do you want me to introduce it,
No,
or do you want to just go take off with it?
Well, okay, you can introduce it. That's fine. This is your episode, so.
So anyway, otherwise, this trailer came out. What was it, yesterday? I think.
Yeah.
Ratchet and Clank PS4 next spring, and wow.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know where to start with this game. Okay, first of all, this is like the first time ever. I think they've been saying this is like the PS2 era. Like, oh, we're gonna see a game that looks as good as Toy Story, and PS2 era didn't do it. PS3 era didn't do it. Like I was gonna say they got close, but no, they really didn't do it.
No, they didn't.
This game looks as good as as like not as like a current Pixar movie, but like this looks better than Toy Story 2. I'd say we're like getting near Monsters Inc.
I'd be curious to see a side-by-side of the CG Ratchet and Clank movie and this game side-by-side.
Oh yeah. No, it I actually did watch the trailer for the movie, and I thought the game looked a little better, but like the movie's just hands out animation's going to be better. Like that's just a given. Like they're just not going to be able to not do like it's just because when you do keyframe animation, like that's not interactive. It's just going to look amazing. But yeah, this actually got me really disappointed in the movie. Because there's no way in hell I'm going to go see that movie now. Like, okay, that's not true. I'd probably go see it.
You'll go see the movie.
I'll go see the movie. But I was surprised how good the game looked. Because I thought, like, when I saw the CG trailer for the movie, for the trailer for the CG movie, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Well, too bad we'll never see a Ratchet and Clank that looks that good. Because when I saw that trailer, I was like, you know what? That is like the best Ratchet and Clank could ever look. And then they released this game trailer. Actually, this was cool because they released a trailer, which is just kind of a cool trailer. But then they released like 10 minutes of like long form gameplay of like just a level. Like they showed a level and they showed a boss fight, and that game looks as good as Ratchet and Clank will ever look. Like that is like that game looks like the epitome of like 10 years of games of like in a series, which is something like I don't think I've ever seen before.
Yeah, and there's just, I think, if you look, there's just such a huge step from where this game was, PS2 era, to even the like step to PS3 era to this. I mean, it's such a natural progression to get to this point.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, wow. Like, I watched that trailer, and had it not said in-game footage at the bottom, it would have been one of those, yeah, it's not going to look that good.
Yeah, no, yeah, but
and I think even if they didn't put, like you said, they put out that, I think it was 8 to 10 minutes worth of gameplay. Even if they showed that in-game footage, I mean, that, kind of phrase has almost been tainted at this point.
Yeah.
But they said, okay, this is in-game footage, and then it wasn't simultaneously, I don't think, there was gameplay, but it was shortly after, I think. And or it might have been simultaneously, I don't remember. But then you see in-game footage, and they go, okay, it's not going to look like that, and then here's gameplay, and you're like, holy crap, it looks that good.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I think the trailer, like the trailer they released, the 2-minute long one, like it opens with a scene from the movie.
Does it really?
Yeah, like the first few shots are from the movie. Yeah, that's what's crazy about this trailer. And then they switch the gameplay, and like you don't notice the drop. Like, yeah, oh man, this game, I don't know. I have some serious reservations about this game though.
Really? Like what?
Okay, like it's from the developer who makes the bad Ratchet and Clank games. They did.
Aren't they all Insomniac?
Oh, yeah. So Insomniac has like a few studios, which is something people don't know. Yeah, people don't know.
I don't know that.
Yeah, well, they did this studio did Ratchet and Clank All for One. They did all the games after Crack in Time. And you're like, wait, there was Ratchet and Clank games after Crack in Time? And I'd say exactly. So they did All for One. All for One was actually kind of a fun 4-player game, but it was really glitchy and not very good. And then Full Frontal Assault was kind of like a weird MOBA game with Ratchet in it, and it just wasn't very good. And it has like one of literally the worst Vita ports ever made.
So it sounds like they've never made like a proper Ratchet and Clank game.
Yeah, exactly. And they're the team behind this game. But at the same time, like it obviously looks like hands down like so gorgeous that I just think that the talent of the team is just like is there. So I'm hoping that they've learned their lessons from the game and that they've had Ratchet in their hands for so long and they have a really good base because it is just a remake of the first game.
Yeah.
So they actually have like a really good structure to build off of. So I'm hoping that with this sort of direction, it's going to be pretty good. And my second problem or hindrance, I guess, or reservation is going to be the $40 price point because I don't know why it's $40. Like that does not look like a $40 game. Like nothing about that. It looks $40. Like I would easily pay $60 for that. So I'm really curious to why it's $40.
Well, I think if you think about it marketing wise, you've got the movie coming out, so it makes it a cheap movie tie-in. Which, that's not what you want to hear, but frankly, like, from a marketing standpoint, that would make sense. It is technically a remake.
Yeah.
And if you think, The Order got so much crap for being so short, I don't think I ever fully played through the first Ratchet and Clank, but PS2 era games were, 8 to 10 hours, especially early on. So this isn't a super long, content-heavy game. So maybe it's just Sony forward thinking, going, you know what? We have an 8-hour game. The Order just got crapped on for being an 8-hour game.
Oh, that's true. Oh, that's true. Like if they released, as we were talking about that before, if they had released The Order at $40, would people be more happy? And I'm thinking maybe that's this experiment.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what we talked about, where it's you pay for the game you made, and I like that strategy. Nobody's going to charge me, $60 for Journey at this point. Granted, they didn't try to at the beginning, but I think the rise of kind of that big indie game at that $10 to $20 price point and seeing how well those do and knowing those wouldn't have sold at all for $60 has almost opened this mid-tier up of this $40 game, and having this be a big name game and having it be an important game and being a game that is something you want on your system and going to, frankly, I feel like Ratchet and Clank, if it looks this good and it plays well, it could sell some systems.
Yeah.
And having it at that $40 price point just enhances that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess now that I guess I wouldn't be that worried about it now. Now that you said that, I was like, yeah, that's true. Like, if this is like a 10-hour game, I was like, yeah, sure. I guess $40 would make sense. But to me, the reason I am a little like hesitant is because because to me this price point, as you said, that makes sense, but it makes the God of War 3 $40 not make less sense. So I don't know what Sony is doing with their pricing, and that makes me nervous. Okay, because God of War 3 is $40. Ratchet and
Yeah.
Clank is $40. Uncharted Collection is $60.
But Uncharted is 3 games. You know what I mean? God of War is 1. Ratchet and Clank is 1. Again, if you're thinking of that pay-for-content idea,
I guess that's
God
true.
of War 3, again, is a 10-hour game. Ratchet and Clank is a 10-hour game. Uncharted is a 10-hour game, but Uncharted 2 is a 10-hour game. Uncharted 3 is a 10-hour game.
So it's 30 hours. Okay, I guess I can see that.
I almost feel like Sony got so burned on the order that in their mind they're shifting to this, let's try for a while this pay-for-content idea.
This could be cool.
Yeah.
This could be cool. I just hope this game is like even half as good as it looks.
I mean, Ratchet and Clank is a simple formula at this point. I don't think they're going to go crazy with it. It's a remake, so you've already got, the bases there, like you said. So I really think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a great game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Ratchet and Clank?
I really hope so.
Super pumped about this.
No, I think this is just like... I'm not excited to see what Kingdom Hearts 3 looks like. Like, Gauntlet has been thrown. And that's all I gotta say. There actually hasn't been there hasn't been a lot of cartoony next gen games. Like the only one I can think of is Plants vs Zombies Warfare,
Garden Warfare,
which is a pretty cool looking, which actually is like a really gorgeous looking game with a cool cartoony art style. This is probably like the second big next gen cartoony art style. I'd even put Mario Kart 8 in there. But I think that there's now some really serious expectations for what a cartoony next gen game looks like. So this has kind of set the bar, and it's one hell of a bar to me. They're like, okay, guys, remember when we were like saying, it'll look like Toy Story in marketing? It's like, well, guess what? We can do that now. So you guys better like put up or shut up.
Yeah, and I think it's just one of those things where, from what we've seen up to this point, now next week with E3 could be a completely different story. We haven't seen anything even coming close to, like you said, that bar yet.
Yeah.
Nothing is even remotely close to there at this point.
No. Yeah, this is a league of its own, Jesus.
Yeah. Alright, but that'll wrap up this pre-E3 crazy episode of the Darksliders podcast. Next week is E3, so we haven't really talked about if we're going to do anything different just because there's going to be so much to talk about, so we'll keep you updated on Twitter, which you can follow us on Darksliders_pod, or anywhere else too. If there's new stuff coming out, we might do something different just because who knows what next week's going to bring. I mean, with all the known stuff coming out this week, we don't know what we're going to see next week. So we'll for sure have a normal episode somewhere in there, but schedule might be off a little bit just with E3 stuff coming out.
Yeah, my plan right now would probably be do an episode Wednesday afternoon or something like that.
Yeah, sometime after those conferences that come out, or maybe even, who knows what else. But we'll keep you guys updated with that on Twitter, so follow us, Darksliders_pod, YouTube, iTunes, whatever we post, it'll be there. So thank you guys for listening, and hopefully you guys all see what you're excited for at E3, because I know there's going to be some great stuff.
Yep. See ya.
All right, see ya.